Day 18, build an agent plus a Lambda tool. Day 18 is where AWS tests whether you understand a very strict rule. The LLM is allowed to think. Only Lambda is allowed to touch real systems. That separation is the entire point of this day. Imagine this. A large hospital deploys an AI assistant called the Hospital Bed Manager. Doctors and nurses ask it things like, is there a free bed in cardiology? Reserve a bed for an incoming patient. Notify the correct ward. If this assistant guesses availability, people get delayed care. If it hallucinates reservations, the hospital descends into chaos. So the hospital makes one rule very clear. The AI can plan, but only real systems are allowed to decide the truth. This is what AWS means by Agent plus Lambda tool. An agent is not a single call. It is a loop. The LLM plans the next step. A Lambda tool executes a real action. The tool returns structured results. The LLM observes those results and decides what to do next. And the loop continues until the task is complete. The key exam idea is this. Tool outputs are the source of truth. The LLM must never fake them. Now picture the clean, exam-friendly architecture. A client, web or voice, sends a request through API gateway. That request goes to an agent orchestrator, usually another Lambda or application service. The orchestrator talks to Bedrock, where the LLM acts as the planner. When an action is required, the orchestrator invokes a Lambda tool. That Lambda touches the database or internal API. Results flow back. The agent decides the next step. Finally, a response is returned to the client. Every part has a role. Nothing overlaps. Let's be very clear about who does what. The Bedrock model interprets the user's goal. It decides which tool to call and in what order. It writes the final user-facing response. The Lambda tool performs the real work. It queries databases. It calls internal APIs. It reserves resources. The orchestrator enforces the loop. It manages retries. It handles timeouts. It applies safety and control. This separation is exactly what AWS wants you to describe. Now let's talk about what a Lambda tool must look like. In AWS's mental model, tools return structured JSON, always. Not prose, not explanations, not friendly text. For example, a bed availability tool returns a clear result, a status, a count of available beds, the ward name, a timestamp. This structure is not optional. It's how the agent stays deterministic. AWS expects you to follow strict tool rules. Tools never return free-form text. They always include status and error codes. They validate inputs. They run with least privilege IAM roles. They log every invocation, and they are idempotent, so retries are safe. These details matter in exam questions. Now let's walk through a real request. A nurse says, find a bed for a patient in cardiology and reserve it if available. The agent does not guess. The planner thinks. First, check bed availability in cardiology. If beds are available, reserve one. Then notify the ward. The executor, the Lambda tool, runs those steps. One Lambda checks the real database. Another Lambda writes the reservation. The LLM never invents numbers. It only reacts to tool output. Finally, the assistant responds, bed B14 in cardiology has been reserved. The ward has been notified. That response is grounded in real system calls. Why does AWS love Lambda as the tool layer? Because Lambda creates a clean security boundary. It integrates easily. It works cleanly with IAM. It logs automatically. It supports retries and timeouts. It can run inside a VPC to reach private systems. If the exam mentions calling internal APIs, touching databases, or performing actions securely, Lambda tools are a top-tier answer. Error handling is also exam relevant. If a tool times out or fails, the orchestrator retries. The LLM is told the tool failed and can choose a fallback. If there's an access denied error, the fix is IAM, not prompting. If a tool returns invalid JSON, it's treated as a failure. The LLM never makes up missing tool results. AWS also cares deeply about observability. You must be able to answer which tool was called, with what parameters, how long it took, what it returned, which user triggered it. This is done with CloudWatch logs and X-ray tracing. Especially when agents perform multiple steps, tracing becomes essential. Now watch for the exam traps. Never let the LLM pretend it called a tool. Never return unstructured text from tools. Never put secrets into prompts. Never give tools wildcard IAM permissions. Never skip timeouts and retries. These are all subtle ways to fail Day 18 questions. Here is the one sentence to lock this in. The LLM decides. Lambda verifies and executes. If you remember that, Day 18 becomes automatic. Final self-check. A system must plan actions using an LLM, but only trusted code may access databases and APIs. What architecture should you use? An agent with Lambda tools. That's day 18 mastered.